Greetings, everyone. It is here in Pittsburgh. It's 2 o'clock on Tuesday, March 9th. I'm told it's March 10th in some people's houses that are in attendance. It's great to see everyone and great to be together. I'm Stephen Neely. I'm your co-host of the virtual Dalcroze meetup, and I'd like to introduce my peers, my colleagues, Veronica Valesky and Emma Shubin. You all want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you.
Good to see you guys. Hi, everyone.
We have a really nice little roster lined up today, and we got a nice crowd of people in the room. So I think that we should probably just start off with our normal greetings. So what we've done from the beginning is create a couple quick breakout rooms, which I can do while we're talking here. And what I'd like you to do is go to the breakout room and introduce yourself. I'm only going to give you 2 minutes. You don't get much time to try to get through the whole crowd, but please say, if you're willing, introduce yourself with your name, where are you located, and either who do you teach or who would you like to teach. And so if you got either or both of those things, it's a nice way to just start to learn some of this community, which we've been so thankful for since March. So here you go, get ready, and we'll see you all back in 2.5 minutes. And so we're back from our breakout rooms, and again, welcome to everybody. We have a really super group of people here. I'm gonna hand it over to Veronica, who I think might introduce what's up.
Actually, can I do a couple announcements first? So Virtual Dance with Dawn, the fabulous Dawn Pratzen, is here in a cool blue hat. She has one more session this coming weekend of her series, and she's agreed to teach another 6-week series, which is really exciting. So if you'd like to sign up for the class this weekend, you buy that as a package of 3 classes, and so you'll get the past 2 for as a recording. You can watch all of these as a recording and live, and then we'll open registration soon for the next 6 weeks series. We have a class coming up with Greg Risto, not this weekend, but the following weekend. So this is another VDM masterclass, and I'm excited about that. And in about a week, the VDM will be officially 1 year old. And some of you have already sent in really beautiful reflections, so thank you for that. If anyone else feels moved to write a couple sentences about what the VDM, how it has impacted you, what it's meant to you this year, we're not doing it to, like for ourselves to enjoy those reflections, although it is nice for us to hear, but for all of us to hear it together. So we're going to compile your reflections and publish them into some kind of document and just share it out with everybody to hear. So you're writing for your colleagues, just a couple sentences of what you've learned and gotten from this group. So we would love to get those, and you can email that to virtualdalcroze@gmail.com. Today we have 2 presenters. Loretta is going to talk first about the difference between dance choreography and plastique anime, and she's going to touch on the early modern years. And then Marlene is going to talk about virtual elementary Dalcroze, and they've each asked for 10 minutes to get their ideas across. So without further ado, Loretta, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. So as Veronica said, my name is Loretta Foy. I direct a dance program in New Jersey at a college, Raritan Valley Community College. And I have also been a Dalcroze student, both at Lucy Moses and then for 2 years in Rome. So I've incorporated some of that into my teaching. And I teach workshops in Espressione Corporea, which I also incorporate the Dalcroze work, as well as creative and expressive arts. So it was a joy 2 summers ago to be in Katowice for the ICDS conference, and I learned so much at that conference. One of the things that really impressed me was, plus I met great friends, right? One of the things that really impressed me was the plastique that was going on, and I really got thinking, like, how is this different from music visualization? And so I'm thinking about choreomusicality and how that's changed over the ages, starting with the early moderns. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about and have a conversation about today. And I thought the best way to do that would be to show some stuff. So I have a little video, if I could share my screen with y'all. Let's see, share sound, optimize for video clip, and let me know, can you, oh, that's not the right one. That is, we want this one. Okay, can you see my screen now?
We did for a second, and
then it
then
disappeared. Okay,
it
let's try that
disappeared.
again.
So share again. There it is.
There
Now
it
we
is.
can
There
see
it is. Yes. Okay, great. So, so what I put together was a little video of some plastique, some music visualization, and some dance choreography. I thought I would start with a piece called Sonata, which is from one of my students. This was actually a plastic anime final that she had to do for her Eurythmics class. So all my dancers have to take her intro to Eurythmics class. And for her, this was really an educational process for her, understanding the music and getting some insight into some interpretation. What you'll see is that she is adding a thematic intent to the piece by having a relationship with this piano that is all the way staged right.
Loretta, just a quick request. Could you
Yes.
pause it? Could you turn down the volume on your video so we can hear your speaking voice over the music?
All right, how do I do that?
I
That's a good
think
question.
in the QuickTime player.
Yeah,
Okay.
right there on the screen, there was a
Oh,
volume
this
bar.
right here. Okay.
Yes.
How is,
You could do more. Bring it down more.
how's that?
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
I'm gonna go from the.
That's so strange. I can't hear it at all.
Oh dear.
You
So
can't hear the
Veronica,
music?
I can't hear it either.
Yeah,
And how
me,
about
same
now?
here.
Can you hear it now?
No, but Veronica, you can hear it?
Yeah.
That's so strange.
Wait, so no one can hear?
Only Veronica can hear.
I can.
Wow.
Only Veronica can hear.
I win the lottery today.
Wait, no one can hear this.
I can hear it. I can hear it.
It's a Zoom update thing, and I have run into this a couple times this week. If the person sharing the screen doesn't have the latest update, not everybody will hear. It's not your fault, Loretta. They didn't tell anybody.
Oh no, so
It's
some of you,
okay.
so some of you can't hear this.
I would forge it that it's okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, all right, then I'll just. But that's so important. The music and the.
Well, we could pause. We could pause and go to Marlene while you update it.
Yeah, why don't we
Zoom.
try that? Let me see if I can update it. That might be. Let me unshare my screen. And see if I can.
You'll have to quit Zoom or you'll have to go up to your Zoom button,
Yeah.
top left under the Zoom menu and say
Yep, check for updates.
check
Yep.
for updates.
Okay.
You
could sing it.
There you go, Don.
Well, thank you for the impromptu tech
Wow.
presentation from Emma and
That's so
Fred.
strange.
So much fun. So maybe we should move on, and then we'll come back to you, Loretta. Is that cool?
Okay. Yeah, it says check. Okay. Let me see if I can. Yep. Thank
You're
you.
gonna have to do that through your browser. Go
Yep,
to
I'm
Zoom.
doing it. I'm updating right now.
All right, awesome.
Yep. Thank you.
Marlene, are you there and able to present?
I'm here. I was listening to the Beethoven music and the movement, and I had 3 weeks ago showed my inner city children a professional drum roper who was doing choreography to a Beethoven sonata. It was just amazing, and I can't wait to see your video, Loretta. It's there's so much out there. Anyway, I'm happy to see everybody, and I'm going to recreate a 2nd grade lesson that I led. My students are inner city children. Many are still in bed when they enter my classroom. So my task, teaching in the inner city, I'm sure it's not exclusive to inner city, but to get all my students engaged while we're online. So engaging exhausted children while creating fresh and new experiences that keep them wanting to come to music is nothing new. However, this online virtual experience has been an unexpected gift. After I go through the lesson with you, I'm going to give you a quick tour of what I call a music playground. And you might want to take this down, and eventually I can probably post my lesson plan and some of the links. But it has been keeping my students engaged and happy. And so I wanted to share this, and I'm happy that I had this experience. So for my lesson, I wanted my students to be aware of and differentiate 3 different sound patterns using visual representations as prompts. The lesson will culminate by augmenting this experience on one of the playground areas that I will share with you, and hopefully you will experience along with me. It augments the experiences by actually turning them into sound creators. So it's not just a matter of going through the different shapes and the sounds, but then turning it over to the children and see what they've absorbed, a great assessment, and see promote creativity. So that's what I'm going to do. So this is typical for me. I see lots of faces, and I'm usually playing the piano, and I greet each student by singing. Oh, and I see Dawn, and I see Selma, and I see Jeanette, and I see Loretta, and I see Guy, and Deborah, and Rebecca, and I don't dare leave anybody out. So, and they start moving, and I'll have my big smile, and I'd say, today, I'm going to turn you into conductors. And show me your musical hand. Now, we've spent weeks studying hands and gestures, so they know very well that this is a musician's hand. It's ready for anything. But now we just need one hand. And if you do not have a writing implement, conductors call this a baton, just use your finger. And what we're going to do is follow me. We're going to go down, across, and up. Down, across, and up. Very good. What shape is this? And of course, a second grader will say, oh, it's a triangle. And how many sounds does sides does a triangle have? 3. Okay, so let's count. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Are you counting with me? And stop. Very good. And now, again, if I had a lot of time, we'd say goodbye hand. Now let's conduct with the other hand, the one that you don't want to. That's very Dalcrozian. So we would do that. We can do that. Sorry. Down, across, up. Some coaching is always necessary. Down, across, and stop. Very good. Now, another shape, and a second grader will say, well, how about a square? Okay, let's do a square. And that shape is going to go down, across, up, across, down, across, up. No, I'm playing the wrong music. Sorry. Down, across, up, across, down, across, up, across, down, across, up, across, down, across, up, across. Ah, you can show me. Nice. And stop. There's one more shape I'd like you to experience, and that is a circle. Let's start with our hands up in the air and show me a circle. Down, circle, and circle, and circle, and circle, circle, and circle, and circle, and circle, circle, and circle. Okay, you're more advanced. I can go faster. And get ready I'm going to change the music and you tell me what shape I'm playing. 1, 2, 3, 4, down, across. I'm going to change again. One, 2, 3, down, across, up, down, across, up, down, across, and stop. Now we are going to take these shapes and turn them into sound shapes. I'm going to put a link in the chat. I'm going to copy. The ice is still working. And where's the chat? So I'm going to post this. This is a musical playground, which I think is a perfect, I have to press that. Good. Okay, and then I'm going to share. I'm going to close that. Now I'm going to share. Okay, here is the screen. And can you see the screen?
Yes.
Oh, you can. Okay. So here's this musical playground. It looks kind of, maybe not advanced. It is anything but. I'd like us to go to this part of the playground first. Kandinsky, who's the father of modern art. And you can draw right along with me, but I want to model first. So I'm going to draw. If I had a lot of time, I would play the music and the kids would say, oh, you're playing triangle music. So again, another assessment. But for time, the way you draw on this app is if you have a touch screen, you draw with your finger or your mouse. And I suspect that most of you have a mouse. So just to give you an introduction to this experience, here are 3 triangles. And my students know the 4 families of instruments and can recognize the sounds. And I would ask them what family of instruments they hear. And then I introduce them to, actually it's like an art lesson, draw a triangle up on the page, in the middle of the page, and on the bottom of the page. And what I'm constantly iterating is that I am teaching you how to listen like a musician. Oh, there's 3 percussion sounds.
Marlene, just 1 minute.
Oh, gee. When you introduce a square and a circle, this is the beginning of creating soundscapes or sound pictures with shapes. And I've limited to 3 shapes. When you explore this on your own, you will hear, let's say, for example, you can make melodies. Ooh, not that last one. You can make melodies, but it's very different than our song maker. You have the string family sounds, percussion sounds, and you have the voice, like my. So to be cognizant of the different sounds that are coming from your shapes, and then I cannot begin to tell you what these children have produced. They've written their names, they hear what their names sound like, they've done all kinds of making believe, they've drawn orchestras, but this is giving the inner city kids a great outlet for creativity. And there's a lot to explore here. It gives me 30 more seconds. The virtual piano, when you get on this, when you share the link, you can copy and share the link in the chat. everybody in the class appears on the virtual piano together as their own emoji. And we have done stop and go exercises and conversations and pattern games, very Dalcrozian, everything is Dalcroze. And the kids cannot wait to get onto this virtual keyboard. And then we go to the Songmaker, where it is a whole recording studio, and we get to make all kinds of music on this incredible application that's very successful. And we even do shapes here, and they apply everything that we learn in various areas of the playground. So I could have used another hour, but I think I'm trying to be respectful of time.
Thank you so much, Marlene. I can't wait to talk about this. Loretta, how goes the Zoom update?
Okay, well, it said it was updated, so we'll see.
Okay.
I'm gonna, Marlene has to take her screen or unshare so I can share my screen.
I am learning. I cannot find it. So
There, I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me show. Okay, so I will go back to talking about the plastique that. There we go. Okay, now tell me if you can hear it. Excellent, fabulous. Okay, so let me just go back to the beginning for you guys. So okay, so this piece that you're seeing is a plastique done by one of my students. And so you can see that it's pretty much, this is a dancer interpreting the music. She added a thematic intent, which was this relationship with the piano. So you'll see sometimes she refers to the piano, and that changes the movement a little bit. But I think that the distinguishing feature that makes this plastique is that it's really connection to her eurythmic studies that she developed in the class, the quick reaction studies, the oral perception, the improvisational work. And one of the differences that I noticed is that, as I mentioned, the dancer layered this theme onto it. And I think when you look at plastique, it's more of an educational process, whereas dance choreography is more of a self-reflection process of what are my inner feelings and attitudes and how do I express that through the movement. And so this is a classic. This is a Ted Shawn piece. This is one of his 13 music visualizations. Ted Shawn and Ruth St. Dennis, who Ruth was born in Somerville, New Jersey, where I live right now, where I'm coming to you guys from. They created music visualization. And I need to read this quote because it's from Ruth. And she said, "Music visualization in its purest form is the scientific translation into bodily action of the rhythmic, melodic, and harmonic structure of musical composition without intention to in any way interpret or reveal any hidden meaning apprehended by the dancer." And I think that is the real important thing between this piece that you just saw and then this piece by Doris Humphrey, who was a student at Dennis Shawn and also was credited to bringing a plastique to the United States because she studied with people from Hellerau. But again, when you look at this, it's not about the dance personalities at all. It's really about interpreting the music. And for those early 20th century choreographers, the music was the essential thing. It was a structural foundation that allowed them to focus on the movement without dealing with like the elaborate costumes of ballet that had and the characterization and the storyline. So this is one of Doris Humphrey's music visualizations. She later, by the 1930s, late 1930s, this is a more current music visualization, but I just want to say by the late 1930s, music visualization was started to be frowned upon. It was called Mickey Mousing, and it seemed it limited the dancer. So choreomusicality began to change to allow for more freedom. You probably know Mark Morris. He's one of our premier choreographers of the day. This is Gloria, and Mark is a music visualization choreographer. But what's nice about this is kind of a synchronic orchestra piece where each dancer represents a voice. But in the full piece, he's not he doesn't stick to and adhere to the musical visualization structure. So like right here, when these two dancers come in, it's still phrasing, but it's not right with the music anymore. And so then I started to think, what are some other ways of choreo musicality? So this is a piece that I set on students 2 or 3 years ago. And this is more like an Isadora Duncan choreo musicality, where it's responding to the musical phrasing and rhythm, but it's not like the exact representation of the music. And I think that for me, that's another difference between plastique, because I think plastique focuses more on the kinesthetic sensation rather than the external appearance. But for dance choreography and music visualization, I think the focus is on the kinesthetic sensation of both the body and the image. So it's more of a visual art form. This takes it one step further. This is another one of my eurythmic students. This is not a eurythmics piece. This is a separate piece of choreography called Limbo. And she's totally using this music as a backdrop. She's just setting the mood with the music. What's interesting is that even though she's not with the music, she's very aware of the phrasing. I don't even know if she realizes it, but she really is feeling the art of the phrasing here. And so that leads me to another difference between plastique is really asking, how does the music move? Where I think dance choreography asks, what do you want to say in this piece? Or like I tell my dance choreography students, what do you want the audience to take home with you? You know, so when they leave the studio. And this is the last piece that I wanted to show because I just think this is amazing. The way he plays with choreo musicality in this. This is Doug Verone. He's a professional dancer, choreographer. This is Doug Verone twice, now and 30 years ago. So you're seeing the same piece twice, which is so cool. But the choreo musicality is so playful in this piece because it's constantly changing. It's like, it's a relationship to the music, it partners it represents it, it responds to it leaves it comes back. It's his sensitivity to the music is so clear here, but he allows himself to ignore it sometimes, come back to it, and I think that's a big difference between plastique and music, is that he can totally leave the music, or he can do what he does at the very end, which is finished without music. I love this end piece. He just ends it and leaves the stage. And that's it. I will share my screen with y'all. Get back to here. Okay. I'm not sharing anymore, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. And so that's kind of how I just wanted to give you, just for me as a dancer, I look at plastique and music visualization and I say, how has it changed over the ages? And what are we doing now that reflects those early years of plastique and music visualization? I chose to focus only on pieces that use music. What I've seen, unfortunately, today is that there's so many choreographers that do not understand music. They just put on a piece of music because it sounds like it should be on with the music. And so I am one of the professors that don't allow that. So my students get that training, but I've seen when we go to conferences, I see a lot, and my dancers pick that up. They say, what? They're not even using the music. Are they even aware that it's on? So it's really interesting to me how that has changed over time. So yeah, I just wanted to share my ideas of choreo musicality with you. Thank you for inviting me, guys.
Oh, of course. Thank you.
So cool. Man, I don't know how we do it. I don't know how we keep doing it here, Veronica and Emma, but it just seems like every time we get this crowd together, all kinds of cool stuff. And so no shortage. We could easily spend another hour with either of these presentations. We have 25 minutes, 24 minutes by my clock. So what does anybody want to ask or comment on? No shortage in either of these presentations. Do you have thoughts, or do you want me to start? What do you got? Go ahead, Veronica.
Marlene, what is that cool music lab? I have never come across that, and it looks so fun. Can you tell us more?
Well, the minute I saw this playground, again, that's what I call it, the first thing I wanted to remain aware of is to keep it musical. It looks kind of babyish and it looks kind of, uninspiring. Okay, I went through that box, I'm done. But I've spent hours developing skills on this, and I have had kids send me arrangements of jingle bells. I took the suggestion of one of the presenters and created a cryptograph, and everybody changed their name into music code. And then we went to the Chrome Music Lab and we arranged our names. It's the applications, I think, Dalcroze can thrive on this environment because it it keeps the kids interested and it nurtures their creativity, which, as we all know, in public schools, there's not many opportunities. So online, it's really going well. And if you want me to give you a very short example of what a Chrome Music Lab arrangement can sound like, I can do that.
Yeah, maybe send us a link and we'll send it out.
I was, I first of all, I really loved the way that you started, not with the lab, but with just having us gesture in the screen while you played. And so when you were saying this is Dalcrozian, I 100% agree that we got to sort of participate in a way that we weren't quite sure, like the student wouldn't know exactly where is she heading with this. She just wants me to do a thing. But then we did it conducting, or a swinging arm with you, improvising. And then we went to the digital platform where you got to do some similar things. And I thought that those were really nice. So I thought that was just really nice pedagogy where you had that pairing there. And then it also occurred to me that it could then go back again. And I'm sure you have tons and tons that you do. So I don't mean to say you weren't doing this, but as we saw, I liked the drawing image, where you were sort of making like dashes and circles and triangles and things on the screen. And then so we get these sort of visual, you get a sort of a graphic choreography, a graphic notation for how we might then move. And so the first one was, let's listen and move. And now let's look and then use that to help us move. So how would we move if what we see on the screen is 3 triangles in a circle? Here, let me hit the play button. I'll show you how the screen plays it. And now, how does Deborah at home, let's see what Deborah's got. Let's see what Catherine's got. And how do you move 3 triangles in a circle? And so it would, we'd get this kind of back and forth. Seems like a very classic kind of exercise.
And I thank you for that feedback, because I knew I was doing something right when the children took their shapes and went to the song maker and made a whole plethora of shapes in a completely different environment. It was an unexpected reward.
We, one of the ways that we describe some of this work to newcomers or maybe to administrators who don't really know what it is that we do, we're trying to take these abstract concepts and trying to find ways to make them concrete. And so as soon as we body whatever the thing is, that's something that is very concrete for me. And so I can feel it and I know exactly what I did, and I could recreate it and I could show it again. So it's not just like weird sounds around me. It's this thing that I'm doing. Very nice. Other people, what do you want to ask or comment on? Okay.
Hi, thank you very much, Marlene. And I think I said thanks, Loretta. I got the name wrong, so apologies for that. I just wanted to comment on the plastic and musical visualization. Just 2 things. One, just to say that I taught Dalcroze in the Central School of Ballet for a couple of terms. And it was just echoing what you said, Loretta, that I was completely shocked that they couldn't dance in time at first. And, you get them leaping around the room and they'd be leaping as high as they could and they were not in time. And it was really, really interesting. They loved doing all the creative stuff because they hadn't done much of that in their classes, in their kind of formal ballet classes. So that's just one thing I wanted to say. And then there's just the other... it's really interesting, this whole idea about what is plastic anime, does it have relevance now? And just for your information, really, for the diploma now, they ask you to do a choreography, you have to do a solo and a group one, and one has to be a plastique anime, and one can be a little bit much freer. So it's rather interesting how they've gone down that route. So my group plastique, for example, it was actually plastique, but it was actually based on dementia.
Wow.
So yeah.
So some of the students that you saw, some of my students actually, so Bill Bauer, which I'm sure many of you know Bill, my students did his group piece. So he set his plastique on my students. He lives right here in New Jersey, and then we videotaped it. We performed it in a couple of places, and then sent it over. But yeah, so I mean, my students definitely have the benefit of working, and it's not just dancers. It's teachers. I've auditioned faculty and have not hired them because they can't. My students look at them with three eyes because they can't count the beat. Faculty that are looking for jobs. So yeah.
Have you ever been to? I mean, this must have been for everybody, but dance classes where the teacher doesn't have a sense of phrasing. Drives me mad when Anyway, yeah, that's enough from me.
Could I say something about that as well? Because it's one of the things there's a biography of Dalcroze. I'm sure some of you know who the biographer was. His name slips my mind. In which he quotes Debussy, who observed a choreography done, or a plastic anime done by Dalcrozians. And Debussy was scathing. He hated that absolute adherence to music visualization. And I just wondered, perhaps Selma, you might be familiar with this quote from Debussy, who didn't like Dalcroze because it was too exactly adhering to the music, the choreography that he saw. And I was wondering if anyone, I mean, obviously Dalcroze addressed the fact that ballet dancers were completely unaware of what was happening in the music, but perhaps he went too far the other way. Does anyone have any knowledge of that or way of addressing it?
Go ahead, Selma, you gotta unmute.
Yeah, that whole particular case is very political, actually, and I did write about it in an article that I could look up. I can't even remember which article right now, but what was interesting was the context and the examples that were in people's minds, because there was a whole sort of thing going on of Debussy and the critics and Dalcroze related people who were writing in that period that is kind of behind that statement. But it's too intricate to talk about in this situation. But I think the whole sort of the past few minutes of discussion do sort of reveal the uneasy relationships between Dalcroze teaching and dance training and experience, and what people do or don't think people do or don't learn in other worlds. I think that the range of examples of people who dance and don't dance what we would call musically is huge, but also some of the most expert embodiers of music are dancers, actually. I mean, they're capable of polyrhythms and so on at a very high level very often, and are expert. I worked with the students, the Central School of Ballet students that Kay mentioned, of an earlier generation with Karen Greenhead, when we did a sort of informed sort of recreation of Dalcroze's work, his Orpheus, which was created with Adolphe Appia Designs in 1991. And of course, these students were dance students who had been studying with Karen Greenhead, a wonderful Dalcroze teacher, for several years at the time. So I think we found their work extremely satisfying as
choreography based on historic sources. But I do think the whole idea of Mickey Mousing as a slur of choreography and as the opposite, as a revelation of music, is a really complex, and there's a lot of very interesting literature and sort of attitude behind all of this topic. It's something I've been curious about for a long time. But to generalize that dancers are not musical or are not capable in certain ways, I think is just as risky as it is to generalize about musicians as being incompetent in various ways. And so
yeah, I didn't mean it that way, really. I mean, it's I think because they got it quite quickly. It's just at the first, when you first come across, and they were, you know, they were quite young, really, and they're very focused on, you know, what they can do. I mean, you know, the wonderful movements and everything, but it was just training their ears. Yeah, you know, I'd hate. Oh gosh, no. I don't want to be kind of general and say things that I don't mean. But they were, you know, they were wonderfully creative. And they did pick it up quite quickly. And as you say, I remember doing 2 against 3 with them, and they got it straight away, for example, you know. So I apologize if I was being too general. I didn't mean it that way.
And yeah, and I just wanted to, Selma, I just also wanted to add that for growing up in the dance world, the idea of studying music was not included in so much of my training until I got older and decided to do that. And so now I teach. So when I go to the National Dance Education Conference, I generally teach some kind of eurythmics for the dance educators, and it's like they just want more. I mean, they're so interested in it, and they're so physically engaged in it. It's so great, but it wasn't offered to them. That's the part that I'd like to change personally. I wish I could just go around and, you know, just do workshops with dance faculty and dance students, because it's so enlightening when they experience it, but they haven't had the experience in most of their training.
Melissa?
Yeah, this is such an interesting topic, and thank you, Marlene and Loretta, for everything you've shared. I just want to add another piece of this idea of dance and Dalcroze movement, and you know, around the world, as we probably all know, different countries really have more of an emphasis on the music and the dance part, because I know in the U.S., I think we're more focused on the music, even though movement is obviously core to it, but we don't have so many people who have dance backgrounds. And it's interesting to look at other countries, like I know in Poland, there's more of an emphasis on the dance training as well as the music. So I feel like the eurythmics people could benefit from more dance background, and the dancers could benefit from more eurythmics. So we just got to get together more.
Very good. Very good indeed. Just in case, I'm always trying to be thoughtful that we may have some newcomers to the conversation, maybe in attendance, although I think I recognize everybody on this call today. But we know that we have a number of newcomers sort of finding our recordings and playing back and trying to learn something about the Dalcroze practice and traditions. So just, you know, very quickly to say, there's this funny word in the room today, this plastique animé, which if you've not come up through these circles, you may not know. And what I think that we've been debating a little bit is kind of to what amount of movement to music is supposed to be an allegiance to the music, and how much of it can be an allegiance to just the artistic spirit of the mover, to even such a point where music isn't necessary. And so there's a spectrum here. And please, Loretta and Selma and anybody else, if you want to clarify something, or if you believe I'm misspeaking, but I think of it as a spectrum, where at the one end we have sort of a sort of a even rigid, but possibly even too rigid, sort of an allegiance to, I'm just trying to represent the notes. And then I think a step away from that would be, I'm trying to represent the notes of the music, but with some sort of, in my class, we would say some kind of musical awareness or some sort of musicianship, where there's a version of trying to demonstrate the notes that doesn't actually acknowledge the motion of the music, it really could be sort of rather robotic, hitting notes. And then there would be a version that we would say, I'm trying to enliven or reveal the music of the score, which is some sort of artistic impulse, as though I were playing it on my piano or as though I were singing my aria. I'm just singing it now with my moving body. And then there would be sort of a step further where that artistic impulse doesn't need to actually play all the notes or doesn't need to even align tightly with the specific notes. It's instead closer to a choreography that has an awareness of the musical line, which I think is a lot of what Loretta was giving some really beautiful examples of. And then it'll, as it moves further and further away from the score, you can get into a position where actually the score matters less and less, to an extreme case where either they're moving and there is music, but they have nothing in common with each other. And then maybe the most extreme examples where we have some really amazing, artistically valid series of motions, but maybe there needs to be no music in the room at all. And so as I'm thinking that through, and the word plastique, the wording plastique animé, I believe is about that first step off the far end, where I'm trying to reveal what's happening musically, and I just happen to use motion as a way to reveal that. And that's how we teach it at Carnegie Mellon and how we think of it. And we should also just say that if you talk to 5 different professional Dalcrozians in the world, you're gonna get 5 usually pretty different sort of allegiances to what they really believe is important in plastique anime. So I'm not in any way saying this is the one way to read it. This is the Stephen Neely and Carnegie Mellon. This is kind of the tradition that we've grown up in here in Pittsburgh. We still have 7 minutes. So you want to talk more about that, or do you want to, what else do you want to get to? Marlene?
I just wanted to mention that one of the key focuses of mine when I'm working with, well, I have worked with dancers, I have had a lot of experience with them, is what to listen for. And that I'm constantly doing that with my students. And actually acknowledging if I'm playing something new to their ears, are like, okay, your ears are probably going, I've never heard this before. And I tell them that musicians listen to the same piece of music over and over because there's many levels to listen for. I even tell them a story where I was very young in a jazz nightclub in New York City, and the person next to me said, wasn't that great saxophone playing? And I'm like, I didn't hear any saxophone playing. I didn't hear it. And the next session, there is a saxophone there. And then I started hearing it. And those experiences never left me. So when I'm in different environments, are students or musicians really directing their hearing to what they need to, what's important, or what the topic is? So.
Very good. The other thoughts about such things? Go ahead, Loretta.
Can I just add, so Jeanette added using movement to reveal the music, what about to enhance the music? And I think that's really important for choreographers, for dance choreographers, to enhance the music. Because, I mean, again, as a teacher of choreography, I'm asking my students to contribute as an artist to a piece. So if they're just using, like, I don't allow lyrics for the most part, because what happens is you get trapped telling the story of the lyrics. And so the question is, what are you adding to that? And so I think that's really important, that you think about enhancing the music or interpreting the music. And that doesn't mean that you have to be on the music all the time. It means that you're taking ideas from music and putting it into your movement.
And at that point, are you drawing a line about the wording plastique animé and a more general artistic choreography, or you think that applies in all?
No, I think that, well, I think plastique is very much what you said, Stephen. I think it's very much plastique and music visualization, to me, represent the music. It's the body moving the music.
And so
I think the biggest difference is one is more of a choreographic process.
Yeah. The idea of adding something of yourself to it, though, and again, in the tradition of plastique animé that I've come up with, that is not in any way excluded.
No.
Not in any way excluded. No. Again, we're not trying to robotically just show how many notes somebody played. In fact, what I think is really exciting and what has been really useful for me with my undergraduate students is that you can't, in most cases, move every note. I think it's a really exciting, actually, a little caveat. If you choose some piece to make the plastique animé of, not only would I not want you to play every note, but in many cases it's impossible to actually find a gesture for every 16th note of the running line. And so what the plastique animé succeeds at, is that it requires the performer to make choices about the music. There is a given piece of music, and I, as a plastique animé person, or as a pianist, or as a member of a chamber ensemble, I can't emphasize everything equally. If I were to attempt to emphasize every note equally, then all of a sudden we would claim that the music is largely lost. The music is gained by choosing to lean into some things and away from others, to value some moments and to devalue others. And so the reason that I would come to your plastique animé and then be excited to see the same piece by another person is the same reason that I would be excited to come to your recital playing the sonata and then hear the same sonata by another person. Is that what I hope to see in both of these cases is a same music, but a different valuing, a different sort of enlivening, a different, I'm jazzed about this part of the music, and so I make more of it versus less. And the plastique animé is a way of sort of making concrete some of those interpretive choices. Again,
Right.
in the way that we use it.
Yeah, I think that's what was so fascinating about the dancer that I showed you at Sonata. Is she made a very conscious choice to include, if you saw the whole piece, there's this relationship with the piano and the empty bench that she keeps coming back and forth towards, which is her interpretation of the music.
It's very good. Dorita, I think you've had your hand up for a little bit.
I just want to add, in my opinion, the dancer is presenting a kind of counterpoint to the music, and the dancer's body can only present the energy of the music. It's not going to present the music, but the inner emotional energy that the music represents within the form. Like Doris Humphrey's Passacaglia is interested in the form and energy of the Bach Passacaglia. And so I wanted to recommend that a phenomenal study in this kind of movement counterpoint to music would be to study Jerome Robbins' Goldberg variations, because it is absolutely something that demonstrates everything that Dalcroze tries to explain in his work.
Excellent. We are about at time, friends. And as always, we could keep on going. There's so much richness. I hope that you've got a couple things to think about. I actually made a couple bold statements today. If anybody wants to argue with me about any of them, I'm really happy always to debate out. And I hope that you don't hear anything that I said is the one only way to think about any of these terms. I'm quite happy for there to be 20 different definitions of the term plastique animé in the world. And but I was trying to share sort of the perspective that we teach from at my institution. Veronica and Emma, do you all have a couple parting words?
I wrote a reminder in the chat, and I'll say it again. We'd love to hear from you how VDM impacted your life this past year to celebrate a year of this wonderful community. That's all from me.
We also
scholarships are available for Dawn's class and for Greg's class. Sorry, Stephen.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there.
We have scholarships available for all of our upcoming events that are of the paid variety, and we hope to see you at the next free one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then Gregory Risto, if you've not worked with Greg, if you've not taken a class with Greg, he's brilliant. I mean, seriously, one of the coolest, smartest people. He runs all the choral programs at Oberlin Conservatory. And he's a longtime Dalcrozian. I believe he did his study at Longy. Am I right? Did we know? Is that right? And I normally, when I get into a class with Greg, I just try not to embarrass myself. He's like way too smart. Like he knows all the things that are going on way faster than me. So I'm very excited to take his class coming up in 2 weekends, and I'm sure it'll be worth your time. Kobe, you got a hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that is the 21st. Is that correct?
Is that right?
I mean, I can always check later.
We listed as 2 dates because of time zones.
Yes.
So on this part of the world, it's the earlier date.
It's the 21st. Kobe, what time zone are you in?
Central time.
Okay, so it'll be at 8 p.m. your time on the 21st.
8 p.m. I will write that down.
And then for our friends on the other side of the globe, it'll be on the 22nd. So you can check all the write-ups about it. Everyone, I'm going to stop the recording. I thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to talking to everybody again really, really soon.